we had started Thursday night working, and we'd held at about 500 members being without power throughout the night. And around 5:30 on Thursday morning, it started breaking loose on us. Our numbers started climbing. We started losing a lot more circuits, and by about 10 o'clock that morning, we was up over 70,000 there at one time.
Never.
Nothing like Helene?
The ice storm, the 09 ice storm would be probably the first worst one I ever experienced. But this one is the worst. You know, we lost a lot, but we didn't lose what a lot of other people lost. It's tiled right up there, but you know, of course, it stopped up when this hill came off. It all came down right through this barn, completely through that barn, and down behind this barn. Major slide was right up there. That was the worst one. And then this one right here was not as bad, but all that mud piled up down here and all that water, diverted all that water, you know, it changed the path of the water.
Well, so basically, you know, when we got here, it was just bad wind. You know, the storm really hadn't started yet. So once the power started going out, you know, it seemed like it got to raining harder, which this creek back here has flooded before, but not to the extent, of course. You know, we've never seen that kind of rain before. I had gotten the trucks, most of the trucks had, I called the guy across the street, talked to him, making sure that it was okay for us to take everything over there. So I started juggling vehicles because they had it had got up to about midway on the bobtail tires. So I took it over the street and just kind of got everything moved to safety. And I had left again to check on another one, but when I got back, that's when the water had already got up to the well right here, and it had started coming in. But at that time, the doors were holding well. I figured there was some water getting in the basement, but once I had came back the next day just to check on everything, the doors were, the water had actually gotten almost to the top of the doors at that time.
How high do you think that is?
Well, from the outside, we're probably 2.5 feet. But since we're below grade, that's what magnified everything in here. But the doors held good, but then when they gave out, every bit of water from outside came in. So 2.5 feet outside put it about 7 feet in here.
So I came into work about 4 a.m. that morning to cook breakfast for the crews that had been out all night working. A lot of them had worked majority the day before. They were out all night. And I touched base with our operations manager, Eddie, that morning early to say, hey, do you need me to come in and start working on breakfast for the guys? And he said, yep, please come on in. And so that morning as I was driving in, the storm was starting to pick up, but not at its peak yet. And I knew that this could be a serious storm. I was able to check in with my family. throughout the early morning hours, and they were checking in on me. About 10:30 a.m. was the last time I heard from my husband, and it was with a video of the flooding that was taking place at our home. And I was hearing stories from our linemen that were coming in throughout the day. I was hearing it over the radio. I was hearing it in the news, the local news, that kind of the area that we live in on the western end of the county was starting to see some significant damage. Part of a section of 105, Highway 105, had collapsed, and that's close to where we live. The bridge that is on our road had started to fall apart, and so there was that nervous piece of, is my family okay? And I was able to finally get in touch with them later through some other people who we were able to stop by and check on them for me and report back that they were okay. And so I was able to really jump right back in 150% to be able to focus on the task at hand that evening, just knowing that my family was safe. That meant the world to me.
My name's Thomas Russell. I am the fiber optic telecommunications team leader for Blue Ridge Energy. Yeah, so the RidgeLink is a subsidiary of Blue Ridge Energy, just like the propane and fuels. So a lot of times the way that I explain who or what Blue Ridge is, we are the black ops of Blue Ridge Energy. Nobody really knows what we do and when we do it. So, but we are a telecommunications company that we provide fiber optic communications and connections for local, regional, and even international companies. But as far as the amount of damage and the extent of the damage, no, this was the worst that I've ever seen in my lifetime.
My name is Lori Summerlin, and I'm in the contact center. I'm the team lead there, and where we answer the phones.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we were expecting it to be, bad, but not like what we got. It was a whole lot worse, because, and everybody knows that, but it was, I wasn't expecting it to be quite that bad. I mean, I've expected a storm, and I expected trees to maybe be down and stuff, but just not the extent of what it was. And then when you get someone that calls in and says, my house is gone, how do you tell them? What do you tell them? And when they say, you might need to come pick up your meter because my house just floated into the river, Or I had one woman say that the mudslide came and a tree stopped her house from going into the river. That's hard. Then you can just, just talk to them and just listen to them and hear what they have to say. That's all you can do.
Lori, what's your team mean to you?
Oh,
Reflect back.
I think they're awesome. All that they did and all the calls that they took, all the good and the bad. Because you did hear a lot of, we're thinking of you, we're praying for you guys, we're praying for the guys out in the field. It was hard, and I know they had a lot of emotions because they did hear some of it, and it does get to you. But yeah, I think they're awesome. I think they're a great bunch. I think they really feel for the people, and I think I just think they're just the greatest bunch of girls to be there, taking those calls.
It's hard because, as a lineman, you are dedicated to the members here. So you work for those people. You feel for those people.
What'd you learn about your team during this disaster?
how strong they are and how much they care for the people. They didn't have no quit in them. You know, they wouldn't quit.
I think what I learned about my team, the front office team, they're an amazing group. What I learned about my team is that we can do hard things when we do it together. We may not want to do the hard things, but we can do the hard things. What I want people from outside of the high country to know is that, you know, we're more than just a place on the map. We are a community that has grit and compassion and care for each other. And, you know, the storm may have left its mark on our community, but it's also revealed, you know, the strength and the heart of the people who live here.
I would go back and I would tell myself, you know, or think about, I could hear my dad talking to me. And my dad would tell me that, "You're doing a great job, Tom. Hang in there. It's okay." And, you know, that's where I draw my strength from and my faith. But as long as my family, they were safe, and I know that I hoped and prayed that I was making a difference, and not just for our customers, but for the people in our department, the people of Blue Ridge Energy, our members, you know, that we're working toward to bring a little bit of normal back to life, that we can make a step closer of getting things restored.